We continue our journey with 5 keynote speakers in a series. So we'll start with Avi Hasson, Chief Scientist of the Israeli government, with Paul Steinberg, Senior Vice President, CTO of Motorola, Erel Margalit, Dr. Erel Margalit, who is a Knesset member, and internet entrepreneur as well, is involved in cyber, so maybe he'll share this with us. Monica Lacerda, who is in charge of risk scenario and risk analysis for the Mondial, the coming Mondial in Brazil, and Tony Cole, VP and Global Governance from CTO and FireEye. So thanks all for coming this morning, and I would like to invite Avi. Avi, please. Thank you, Avi.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. What a privilege and an honor to be here, seeing so many familiar faces, but also distinguished international guests from so many countries. And in the chats outside, I think, we had some interesting subjects. This is a representation of something that I will talk about, which is collaboration and information sharing. And by that, besides the important content, I think this gathering is quite important. Being who I am, and even though this conference focuses on the challenges, I would like to focus on the opportunity and speak a little bit about how the cyber challenges can become an economic opportunity for the State of Israel and actually for the entire knowledge industry worldwide. This is a recognition that I'm happy to say now, is shared by every government worldwide. Developed world, there's a common understanding of how much innovation contributes to the economy and the society. It generates growth, it creates jobs, it helps national competitiveness and global standing. I don't want to say more than the security and armed forces, but it's just as important. And everywhere I go these days, developed world, people understand how much innovation is crucial for their economy. Now, luckily for us, it's something we've realized quite a while ago. And, well, that's the problem with the slide, but with a few slides now, I see. Great. We'll figure it out. When you map the countries, let me illustrate what you're not seeing here. I hope it's not a cyber attack. When you map the countries of the world according to the level of innovation, Israel really stands out as a superpower. And it really is that unique combination between excellent science on the one hand, combined with a high level of entrepreneurship. And that combination with the ecosystem around it, with human capital and venture capital, very supportive government, and I'll speak about that in a minute, is unique. Of course, it didn't harm the fact that we don't have anything else to offer, so we had to focus on our innovation and human capital. But as such, and we'll be talking about cyber naturally in a few minutes, the capabilities of Israel is really around that fountain of innovation, changing from sector to sector, but it is that fountain which makes us unique. So this is an important slide, actually, what you're not seeing here right now. I'm not seeing it either. Don't suppose I am seeing it, but I know what it is. Focusing on cyber for a minute, I think cyber is a great example of the ecosystem that we have here in Israel, because really, when you think about it, what do you want from a very healthy knowledge or innovation ecosystem? You want a very strong academia, you want entrepreneurs, you want the funders, the angels, the venture capitals, a very sophisticated financing mechanism. You want a supporting government, of course, because that's also important, and we'll be talking about that in a minute. You want the multinational companies with their capabilities of both understanding the market needs as well as the scalability and go-to-market capabilities. Well, in the case of cyber, we have them all. We have them all. It starts, and government here plays many roles, obviously, and I see here people from the armed forces. Within our security forces in general, there are very strong cybersecurity capabilities, both in the Army as well as in other institutions and entity. This is important not only because it generates capabilities, but also because of the very strong spillover through the talent training as well as the intellectual property. I must say that there's a current discussion about the intellectual property regime within the armed forces and the Ministry of Defense. And I must say that for many years now, and I come from the high-tech industry in my background, I've been talking about the very smart intellectual property policy of the Israeli Defense Forces. And the policy is that we don't have any policy. So basically, as long as you don't harm national security, of course, people coming out of the Army could take the know-how that they've developed within the Army and make it into commercial products. There are many successful examples of that. Checkpoint is a notable one, but there are dozens and dozens of companies which were basically based on know-how and training. And it is because I am from the government today, I want to stress that point. I think that spillover contributes to our economy and society far more than any financial benefit one might have gone from that intellectual property. But again, focusing on cyber, what we have been seeing in the last few years in the case of the opportunity has been amazing. With major multinational companies coming into Israel in a strong way. Some have been here before, some are newcomers. Companies like CA and IBM, recently Lockheed Martin, GE and GM. A lot of old and new players are coming to Israel focusing on cybersecurity because of that combination of a very unique know-how with a very robust ecosystem. You add to that a very strong academia with our research universities, all of which have relevant capabilities within the world. You add to that very sophisticated venture capitalists, angel investors, many of whom are serial entrepreneurs coming from this world with their early companies. You add to that hundreds of new companies, and you got a very strong and vibrant ecosystem. So it's not surprising to me to see the audience in this crowd, as well as the many delegations coming to our country seeking for solution and innovation in this very important space. So the numbers are really hard to track. You might have seen different one, but because it's changing so rapidly. And every day we get announced about a new startup in this area being formed by very capable entrepreneurs. But certainly we're talking about a critical mass that exists today with hundreds of new startups. And the point I'd like to make, and I saw that Eviatar from the National Cyber Bureau talked to you yesterday, is that this is not only becoming significant to our economy and innovation ecosystem, the cyber sector, we're also becoming important and significant within the global map. If you count not only the percentage of cyber within the Israeli economy, but actually the percentage of Israeli cyber companies within the global market, it's a very, very significant numbers. And as such, it's clear that this represents a very interesting opportunity for the industry in the years to come. And fortunately or unfortunately, this is not going to disappear anytime soon, at least in my opinion. So all the challenges that have been discussed here yesterday and will be discussed here today, in my mind, represent huge opportunities for the Israeli industry and academia. Focusing on some of the points, I will not go into each and every one of those because of the time limit. It's obvious, and I'm sure this audience is quite knowledgeable, but I would like to stress the point that cybersecurity is not, and probably I should add the word just, is not just information security 2.0. Many of the companies in the slide you haven't seen have information security or data security legacy. Many of them started there. Many of them are focused in that sector today. And obviously, many of the cyber warfare is around information and data, protecting, obtaining, and all the different sides of the equation. But there are just as important elements of cyber warfare or cyber solutions, looking from the opportunity side, that are not about data. It could be physical infrastructure, it could be different layers, and without mentioning names, I can tell you that on a weekly basis, I meet delegations of the largest company in the world, many of whom have nothing to do about data, and yet they're all concerned about cybersecurity. And in this, again, in the multinationals, you see a lot of companies that were not natural players here starting to be concerned and develop solution around that. And one name I did mention is General Motors. And obviously, as the car becomes a connected device in many aspects. Well, we could all think of bad things that can happen to us, certainly if you go to the world of autonomous cars. And this is not science fiction. It's something that I'm sure I've seen in my eyes. And it's certainly a big threat or an opportunity. When the world of physical infrastructure, when the world of automotive platforms, when everything becomes closer to the world of information and communication technologies, Israel has a lot to offer. And it opens up new opportunities on top of the usual suspects with whom we've been working for decades. New companies understand what we can offer to solve these global challenges. It's also obvious that the old world of best of breed point solutions is not going to make it. It's just not going to make it because the challenge is so big that there's a need for comprehensive and integrated solutions. And I still think, and I know some people in the crowd represent that sector, but we're still missing those suites, those integrated solutions, as long as those players in the value chain that will take the role of integrating everything and seeing that from the point, again, opens a very big opportunity in my mind. The same goes for analytical and proactive dimensions. And I do want to say another maybe controversial word on my side. There's a strong discussion, I think, about attack and defense and the definition and the distinction between the two. I'm not quite sure this is going to stay for a long time because, in many times, attack is going to be the proactive dimension of defense. So I think we need to, maybe be a little bit more sophisticated in our analysis of what cyber warfare is all about, because that distinction is not necessarily going to be sustainable in the year to come. And the proactive dimension is going to be important even if you are totally on the defense side. Something to think about. The most important points are really the latter ones, and this is why I'm so happy about this conference. This is a world which requires information sharing and global cooperation. Actually, I'll tell you a secret. In every one of my presentations, regardless of the subject, I talk about the importance of collaboration. And I'm a strong believer that in today's world of innovation, unlike what it was, I have 25 years perspective. I'm sure it was the same earlier than that. The old world is dead of one company developing a solution within its boundaries. It's not a question of nice to have. That's impossible. You have to work together. You have to work together on the R&D side. You have to work together on the solution side. You have to work together on the monitoring side. This world, it's a great example of how much this is important. And I don't want to dwell on that because I'm sure you get it. But this is why the more gatherings we have, the more information sharing we have, the more global cooperation we have, the better. Because there's no other way to solve it. No other way. You can be as good as you are. By definition, you're limited with your capabilities. And the most important things is awareness, education, and regulation. Regulation is not necessarily a bad thing. It can actually also be a good thing, speaking, again, from the economic perspective. It's certainly needed. We're just starting out. We're just starting out, and it's very clear from close monitoring of what's happening in the world, that at least from our Israeli perspective, in many times we need to write the new rules because it's very hard to find who to learn from. Everybody's learning together, basically. And this is why, again, that common discussion is so much important. These are all huge challenges, but they also represent very significant opportunities for our industries to come. So the Office of the Chief Scientist, I don't have time to go on it, but I just want to say that, no problem. Our programs cover all the life cycle of knowledge, actually, starting with research in the academia, even prior to industry affiliation, but then focusing on the thousands of companies we serve every year. And you see some of our programs there. We have more than 30 different programs supporting single entrepreneurs, the technological incubators, and so on. The point I would like to say that, at least from our perspective, this is not a new subject. We've been supporting the cybersecurity sector for many, many years. Obviously, the last few years have been very significant, both in terms of the opportunity as well as in terms of Israel's statement, the creation of the National Cyber Bureau, the push we've been giving to this sector. But this program, on a competitive basis, have consistently got funding from the chief scientists. Why? Because they're very innovative technologically, they represent a high commercial potential, they employ strong teams, and as such, they got consistent funding in our different programs. In addition to that, we see investors coming into that without our saying so. We have at least 2 of our incubators are focused on cyber. Erel just stepped in. Well, I think he knows one of them, at least on a personal basis. And I can tell you that in the upcoming tenders we have, without us telling to the investors, we'd like to form a cybersecurity incubator, people are going after the opportunity. And the private sectors, investors, the strategic players understand that this is a growing opportunity which is here to stay for many years. Having said that, we did launch last year one additional dedicated program, working very effectively with our partners from the National Cyber Bureau. Rami Efrati, I saw him here somewhere. Hi, Rami. So really, it's been a pleasure to work with you guys. I think and please don't underestimate the challenge of different government entities working together. Okay, this is not trivial. And yet it's happening, I think, because of that joint understanding of the opportunity and what we can do together. So in addition to what we had, and our overall support for cyber is more than 100 million shekel every year, you see the pickup from the market. When we came in and say, hey guys, this is important to us, and if you work in this sector, we have some preferential terms for you, the market responded in a big way. This is my last slide. I just want to, again, to sum up with what I think are the interesting or the important point. First and foremost, international cooperation. And again, thank you for facilitating that in a conference like this. I can tell you that we do our share through bilateral agreements with governments as well as multinational corporates trying to push this ecosystem forward. The second is supporting infrastructure. And this includes a lot of things. It includes some of the things we don't have yet. It's human capital, both in academia and industry, that we need to push. Sometimes it's R&D infrastructure, unique labs. It could be all the necessary simulators and so on that is necessary to push this forward. And just as important from my perspective is the opening to the global market. And I do want to say another word about something which is under debate today, and it's the export control policies. I'll say it in a very, very clear way from my perspective. If we want to have a vibrant, healthy, and successful cybersecurity industry in Israel, we do not, this is one place where we don't need to be innovative is regulation in general and export control specifically. We should follow, as we have been following throughout the years, the international treaty, monitor exactly what is the exact policy, but we should not be extra innovative here. In the balance between national security and the health of the knowledge economy, one should understand that the health of the economy and the society is just as part of the national security as the normal things we typically think about in this world. So I'd like to thank you again very much. I wish you a very fruitful event. Unfortunately, I'll not be able to stay with you during the day, but I do look forward to see the summaries. Thank you very much and have a great day.